In previous videos, we talked about childhood emotional neglect and abuse. But today we're going to answer the question at the heart of all of this. What do we actually need from our parents in order to live a healthy, happy life? While the list could seem endless, I have come up with 10 vitally important things that we do in fact need from our parents. Starting off with number 10, we need emotional availability. In 1975, Mailer, Pine, and Bergman first used the term emotional availability to describe a woman's supportive attitude and presence in the context of infant-toddler explorations away from her. In other words, the mom was connected and emotionally responsive to her child.
I wish I had emotionally available parents who were able to give me a loving, stable environment.
Parents who are emotionally available are able to listen, be present with us, and help us feel understood. They're able to offer comfort during difficult times and allow for emotional expression, even when it's not positive. It requires an awareness and comfortability of one's own emotions. Individuals who are emotionally available understand their own feelings and can navigate them effectively. But what does it look like in our lives? Let's consider Susan, an emotionally available caregiver, versus Beth, who is not emotionally available. Susan is aware of her emotions and able to talk about them openly. She is emotionally available with others, like her friends and family, and therefore is also an emotionally available mother. Susan regularly schedules quality time with her child. She checks in on them and wants to know how they're doing. She engages in activities they both enjoy, creating a reliable and supportive environment where her child feels comfortable sharing their thoughts and experiences. Susan models healthy emotional expression. If she's upset, she communicates her feelings calmly, demonstrating how to navigate and manage emotions. On the other hand, Beth is not emotionally available. She is uncomfortable with her emotions, tries to ignore them, and struggles with any kind of conversation that revolves around how she's doing. When she's upset, she either suppresses her emotions by saying everything is fine or expresses them in an aggressive manner, providing an unhealthy model for her child. She doesn't check in with her child and often prioritizes work and personal activities over spending time with them. This creates an inconsistent and emotionally distant environment. So how does this impact us? An emotionally available caregiver plays a significant role in shaping our attachment style, emotion regulation abilities, and overall feeling of safety in the world. The absence of emotional support can hinder the development of effective emotion regulation skills. Even as an adult, we can struggle to understand, express, and manage our own emotions, leading to difficulties in coping with stress and frustration. Number 9, attunement. Being attuned means being fully present and responsive to a child's emotional cues and needs.
I wish my parents were not about the doing, but just about being present.
As program director and LPCC, Joanna Van Otterloo shares, children need attunement from their caregivers to feel safe and secure, which leads to a strong foundation for their overall development. When a caregiver tunes in to a child's emotional state and is in it with them, the child is better able to feel understood, acknowledged, and accepted in that moment. When a caregiver can accept their child as they are and show compassion for their emotional experience, they also begin to lay the groundwork for the child to learn how to be compassionate and empathic towards others. So what would it look like in our life? Well, let's go back to Susan, who is attuned with her child, and Beth, who is not. Now, when Susan's child comes home from school looking upset, Susan notices the change in her child's demeanor and immediately asks them what happened. She seeks to understand what they're feeling and moves towards them, leaving them with a clearer understanding of their own emotional experience. Beth, on the other hand, either doesn't notice her child's internal state, or if she does, she dismisses or misinterprets it. Now, I knew someone whose mom used to notice her when she was irritated or frustrated. But instead of her mom saying something like, "You seem frustrated, what's going on?" her mom would tell her that she had a bad attitude because she was selfish and rude and mean. And this was not at all what my friend was experiencing internally. And so it felt like a really profound misattunement that left my friend as a child deeply confused about her own reality. How would this impact you as an adult? When our caregivers aren't attuned to us, we can begin to question our internal experience or the ability for those around us to understand our experience, kind of like what happens when we're being gaslit. As an adult, this might show up as heightened anxiety and a sense of insecurity. We can have constant fear of being misunderstood or ignored, which can impact our overall sense of safety and well-being. Or we could have internalized the belief that our feelings are not important. Either way, those of us who didn't experience attunement as children are going to struggle to express our needs and emotions. Number 8, affection. Regular physical affection, such as hugs and positive touch, helps create a sense of warmth and connection. It helps us feel safe and secure, and is the foundation from which a secure attachment can be formed. A study conducted in 2010 by Duke University's medical school showed that babies whose mothers were more affectionate and attentive grew up to be more resilient, happier, and less anxious. In this study, they followed 500 people from infancy into their 30s to see just how much they were affected, and there was a stark difference between those of us who received consistent affection and those of us who didn't. So what would it look like? Now, some of us may have had affection every now and then, but think about your dynamic with your parents. Did you get physical and verbal affection that offered you a sense of security and comfort? Was their touch offered frequently and with ease? When you were upset, did they hold or comfort you until you calmed down? These are all indicators that you received healthy affection from your parents. The absence of affection during childhood can significantly impact individuals in adulthood, influencing our emotional well-being and interpersonal relationships. Those of us who lacked affection may struggle with forming and maintaining close bonds, experience challenges in trusting others, and exhibit difficulties regulating emotions. We can also seek affection in potentially unhealthy ways, affecting our overall emotional and psychological health. Not to mention that this could also lead to attachment issues as well. Number 7, attention. Healthy attention involves actively engaging with our children, offering focused quality time, and creating a nurturing environment where the child feels seen and heard. Remember, attention is something we all need. It's a normal thing for humans to crave and look for. It helps us build a healthy self-esteem. And as Dr. Christine Rake says, receiving positive attention helps babies learn that they are important and valued members of a group. Infants learn that others can be trusted to take care of them and that they can bring enjoyment to those around them. Positive attention is demonstrated through loving interactions, experiences, and positive relationships. As children grow, positive attention plays a significant role in the initial development of a positive self-image. Positive attention helps children internalize the messages shared and helps them to develop confidence and the belief that they can achieve their dreams and goals. So what does this look like? Well, let's talk about Frank, a father of 2 who practices healthy attention with his kids. After a long day, he sets aside dedicated time for quality interactions. This could be checking in with each child, asking about their day, or even helping with homework. During family dinners, he actively engages in conversations, asking about his children's day and expressing genuine interest. In contrast, let's imagine Peter, who exhibits unhealthy attention patterns. Peter is often preoccupied with his own concerns, frequently distracted by his phone or work. When a child tries to share their achievements or feelings, Peter dismisses them, either with minimal acknowledgement or by expressing disinterest. Now, this can impact us in a lot of ways. The type of attention and emotional support received during childhood significantly shapes adult experiences. It can be hard to understand how to seek and pursue healthy attention. There may be a sense that we're not worthy of it, which can lead to a tendency to downplay our personal needs and emotions. Alternatively, we can notice a pattern of obsessively seeking external validation and approval, potentially influencing career choices and overall life satisfaction. Number 6, boundaries. A parent who offers their child healthy boundaries establishes clear and predictable rules, taking into account the child's age and individual needs and explaining the reasoning behind the boundaries. They also respect our boundaries as the child. Respecting boundaries as a parent is a fundamental aspect of creating a healthy and supportive environment for a child's growth. It involves recognizing and honoring the child's need for personal space, autonomy, and individuality. A parent respects a child's need for personal space, thoughts, and emotions without intrusion. They allow the child to have confidential moments, encouraging a sense of independence and self-discovery. So what would this look like? Let's imagine we've got Frank and Peter again. Frank establishes healthy boundaries. He maintains consistent rules and expectations for his teenage daughter regarding homework and curfew. The guidelines are clear, and the consequences are applied consistently. Peter, on the other hand, struggles with setting boundaries. He inconsistently enforces the rules for his child, leading to confusion and frustration. Consequences are unpredictable and based more on Peter's mood than anything else. When it comes to respecting our boundaries, this could mean that they share our personal information without our consent, like telling their friends that we started our period when we told them not to. And if you haven't seen it, my video about Ruby Frankie provides a lot of examples of what this looks like when someone doesn't honor their kids' boundaries. I'll link it below, you should check it out. When we don't have a parent who effectively manages boundaries during our formative years, the consequences can manifest across various aspects of our lives. See if you connect with any of this. You struggle with setting and respecting your own boundaries, leading to difficulties in forming healthy relationships and asserting yourself in personal and professional contexts. You struggle with issues related to trust, intimacy, and self-disclosure. This lack of respect for privacy during childhood may lead to difficulties in setting and asserting boundaries in your adult relationships. We can overshare and feel too vulnerable and then shut down, or prefer to push everyone away and not share anything because we really don't know what healthy sharing and communication looks like. Number 5, consistency. Consistency in childhood is key to our emotion regulation and development. Diane Bales, an associate professor at the University of Georgia, states that the developing brain thrives on repetition. When a baby experiences the same things over and over, the pathways of connections in her brain become stronger and more complex. One of the best ways to provide repetition for the developing brain is to create consistency in the child's world. Through having routines and predictable responses or behaviors, a child learns to trust and feel safe in their world.
I wish my parents had given me more consistency.
Now let's go back to Susan and Beth. Susan is consistent with her children. She keeps to a routine, having dinner around the same time, and always asks the children to help set the table and clean up. My mom did the same. Then there's homework, followed by a little bit of TV, and then bedtime. Her children know that if they act in an unacceptable way, that they will be talked to, and something like, doing a thing that they love, like playing a video game, isn't going to be available for a day or two, depending on what happened. Beth, on the other hand, isn't consistent. Sometimes she makes dinner for her children, and other times she's not home and tells them just to figure it out. She'll do the cleanup herself one day, act like it's no big deal, and then the next day she'll be angry at her kids for not knowing that it was their turn to do it. She works a lot, so she isn't home to check on them and make sure they've done their homework. But when she does happen to be home, she gets angry if they don't show her what's due and what they've completed without prompting. The house is always in disarray, and the children often feel like they're walking on eggshells, unsure of how their mom is going to react to them. When our parents aren't consistent with us, we can struggle regulating our emotions and be scared to try new things. We can experience symptoms of anxiety because we never know what to expect or if we're doing things correctly. So we're always unsure and feel like we're on edge. We can become people pleasers, trying to read other people's minds and always feeling unsure of whether or not we're doing enough. Number 4, communication. We all need open and honest communication in our families. This helps cultivate trust and helps us learn how to feel comfortable expressing ourselves. It also allows for our relationships to grow and change as we do. Communication skills are part of all success in life. So what would it look like? It could look a little bit like this.
All banks got back to some rock-solid loan fundamentals again. For heaven's sakes.
Oh, easy, Walter, easy. Don't.
No, Claudia, enough already. For heaven's sakes, it's high time we all did. Get back.
Oh,
I
your
need
pills,
some
Dad. Don't forget the
fundamentals.
ones with food.
The high-pressure ones
Where
in
we
your
used to
pocket.
be. All of us.
What pills, Dad?
Together.
Well, not like that, but in all honesty, it should look something like this.
I want to go home. Please don't be mad.
Oh, sweetie.
We're not mad. You know what? I miss Minnesota too.
Growing up in a family with unhealthy communication patterns significantly influences our adult behavior. If we were raised in such environments, we can struggle with expressing ourselves effectively, and we may not have constructive ways to communicate needs, emotions, and boundaries. It could also lead us to thinking that any expression is too much or too intense for people, so we bottle it all up. Not to mention that those of us from families with poor communication may encounter difficulties in resolving conflicts, often replicating the dysfunctional communication styles that we experienced in childhood.
I wish my mom apologized more. I wish that she could apologize when she was wrong, maybe after a big blowout, or if she realized she was wrong in the moment for something. And then as an adult, I wish that my mom came to me and apologized. I think it's really important to apologize to our children and let them know that we are human too and we make mistakes, but that their feelings are very valid as well.
One of the ways you could assess if you experience this need being met is to take a look at your communication as an adult. Do you struggle to talk about your needs? Is it hard to express an upset to others? Likely that is an indicator that this may not have been ideal in your childhood. Number 3, validation. We need parents who take the time to understand our thoughts and feelings and offer validation. Validation is about noticing a child's feelings and helping them understand why that experience, even when it's not healthy, makes sense.
From my mom, I wish I had more time, and from my dad, I wish I had acceptance and that he wanted me around.
I wish my parents would give validation and comprehension to what happened and the ripple effects and lasting effects of it.
It means we grow up feeling seen and heard, which helps create a healthy sense of self and allows us to learn and grow without shame or judgment. So what could this look like? Well, maybe a child is having a meltdown over something that we might call silly, like they can't have the dessert they want because they're all out of ice cream at the store. Now, many of us might almost instinctively roll our eyes or ignore them or tell them just to get over it. But validation takes into account their age and experience of disappointment. Of course, we know that there are way worse things in life than not getting ice cream in that particular moment, but they aren't yet familiar with the sensation of disappointment. And we all know how horrible that feeling can be. Validation would sound like noticing what they're feeling. This is so disappointing, right? And helping make sense of that feeling for them. Like, that makes sense. It sounds like you were really hoping for ice cream and now you feel disappointed that they were out. That can be so frustrating. But many parents don't do this with their children because they're scared that it's going to make the child's feelings bigger or more intense. But hold that thought because that connects to the second thing that we need, which is up next, so stay tuned. So how would this impact us as adults? When individuals do not receive validation and understanding from their parents during childhood, it can contribute to a sense of inadequacy and low self-esteem, as individuals may internalize a belief that their thoughts, emotions, and experiences are not worthy of acknowledgement. It also impacts our ability to regulate our emotions big time. And I'm going to talk more about emotion regulation in a video soon, so make sure your notifications are turned on. Number 2, space to feel. One of the most important skills we learn throughout our childhood is something that I continue to mention throughout this video: emotion regulation. How we handle and cope with our feelings.
I wish my parents would have taught me how to identify emotions, that it was okay to have them, and how to properly deal with them.
We aren't born knowing how to manage big feelings. And from the second we enter the world, we have a lot of new emotions. So often our caregivers respond to our emotions the way they respond to their own. Try to make them go away, act like they're uncomfortable or that they're too much. And what we need instead is the space to feel, to allow the emotion to happen, be acknowledged, and pass. This is huge when it comes to developing our emotional intelligence. Let's look at an example. Imagine if a teenager, Sarah, tells her mother, Lisa, "I hate you," after being denied permission to attend a late night event. And Lisa responds empathetically. She might say, "I hear that you're upset. It's okay to feel that way. We can talk about it when you're ready, and I'm here to listen." Now, this response provides space for Sarah's strong emotions, validating them without escalating conflict. It also shows Sarah that big emotions are okay and can be expressed and won't end a relationship, even if she comes back and gets mad anyway. On the other hand, an unhealthy response might involve dismissing or punishing the child for expressing such strong feelings. If Lisa, remember the mom, she reacts negatively, saying, "Don't you dare talk to me like that," and imposes consequences like "go to your room, you're grounded," without addressing the underlying emotions, it shuts down communication, and it prevents the child from feeling heard. In this scenario, the parent's reaction doesn't provide the necessary space for the child to express and process their feelings, potentially leading to increased frustration and strained parent-child dynamics. Now, I'm not saying that you should let your child talk to you any way they please, but overall, expressing an upset should be accepted. How does this impact us as adults? In the case where the parent validates the child's feelings and provides space for communication, the child is more likely to develop emotional intelligence and effective coping mechanisms. This can contribute to healthier relationships as the individual learns to express and navigate strong emotions openly and constructively. On the other hand, if emotions were dismissed or smothered, we can grow up having a hard time expressing or managing our emotions. We can feel like they're too much or that we're overreacting and try to repress them, which leads to internal dysregulation and often makes the feelings get louder. So I have a question for you. Is this something you think you experienced? Did your parents make room for you to have big feelings? Or were your feelings shamed or squashed? Let me know in the comments. I'm just curious how common this is. And finally, number 1, unconditional love. This is the bottom line. Everyone needs to feel loved and accepted for who they are without judgment or conditions. Of course, parents are going to be pleased with some of our choices and frustrated with others, but when we have unconditional love, we never think that a disagreement or a fracture in a relationship will lead to a lack of love. We feel secure, safe in belonging.
I wish my parents had more of an open mind.
We have a deep sense that there's nothing we could do that would threaten how our parent feels about us. And as an example, let's imagine a teenager, Alex. He faces a setback at school. His dad, Trey, expresses unconditional love by reassuring him, saying, "I love you no matter what. We all make mistakes, and I know that you're going to learn from this experience." Trey provides emotional support without attaching his love to Alex's academic success, reinforcing a sense of security and self-worth. In contrast, conditional love may manifest when a parent ties affection to specific achievements or adherence to expectations. For example, if another teenager, Sarah, receives praise and love from her father, John, only when she excels in sports. If she doesn't win, he withdraws and is cold and withholds his love from her. John is demonstrating conditional love, showing his daughter that love only exists under specific conditions. So how would this impact us as adults? Well, growing up with inconsistent or conditional love can lead to a persistent need for external validation as we link our value to meeting specific expectations. It could also cause us to overwork ourselves, right? Hoping to finally make our parents proud. It can cause us to struggle with forming trusting and intimate relationships, and it can even contribute to feelings of insecurity and difficulty in expressing or receiving love. None of us had perfect parents. If you notice that you think you received, 6 out of 10 of these things, you might have had a reasonably supportive family. Also keep in mind that some of these hold more weight than others. Those who grew up with a sense of unconditional love might be able to tolerate missing some of the other things that we talked about. Overall, if you are confident that you did not get more than 6 or 7 of these things, it might be time to do some digging into childhood emotional neglect, what it is and how to heal from it. And I have a video on that I'll link in the description. You can check it out. I hope it helps. Also, as I was creating this, I realized that there could be a lot of other things on this list. So comment below and let me know if you want a part 2. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week.